Guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, this video is going to show the entire testimony of Letecia's brother, Dakota Lowry. I think it's a very important testimony that he gave. It was a very difficult day for him, and this actually does include, I am including the outburst that he made before he actually began testifying. I feel really bad for him and the rest of the family. They're having to deal with a loved one in their family doing something horrific, something they never thought she could possibly do. And his testimony regarding the suitcase, seeing the suitcase while he was in Colorado, are very important key pieces to connecting Letecia to that suitcase that was later found with Gannon in it in Florida. So I'm going to play it right now. And again, while it's not as triggering as the medical examiner, this entire case, I believe, is pretty triggering. So please do keep that in mind if you need to bail out at any time. And with that said, here is the testimony of Dakota Lowry.
Dakota Lowry, DAKOTALOWRY.
And where do you live, Dakota?
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Did you just fly in yesterday?
Yes, sir.
And what is your relationship with Letecia Stauch?
That's my sister.
Pretty tough for you being here right now?
Yes, sir.
Hang in there, all right?
Why, Tisha?
Mr. Lowry, do you need a moment?
Take a break for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have you step back in the back of the jury room for a few minutes. All for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Mr. Lowry, you going to be okay? Need a few minutes?
Yes, I just want to get this over.
Okay. Here's the way that the process works. Is that I understand that you want to get it done. I understand that. But we have to have the jury in here, and you're going to be subject to questioning by the prosecution and then by your sister's attorneys. Do you understand all that? Okay. Just do the best that you can. Just take a breath. Do you need some water or anything like that?
Yeah.
There's some water right there if you want some, or you can pour it into that cup there. So everybody's a little nervous when they're on a witness stand. Just take a deep breath.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It happens. It's an emotional case. I get that. But you just have to do the best that you can to get through the testimony, okay?
And with the court's permission, can I just ask some follow-up questions? Mr. Lowry, I know this is very difficult for you, okay? But I really want you to focus on me, and I know your wife's here as well. And I'm just going to ask you some questions, and we'll get through this, okay? But it's important that you got to kind of keep your cool.
Okay.
All right. Can you do that?
I'm trying my best. I can't make no promises, but I try my best.
And I appreciate that. I know it's difficult for you here, but we'll get through this, okay? And if you need a break, just let us know. If you feel something coming up where you want to have an outburst, do the best you can and let us know. And perhaps the court, we can take another break, okay? Is that fair?
Okay. All right. All right, let's go ahead and bring the jury back in. We have the other camera. All rise for the jury, please. All right, thank you. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lowry, this is your first time being in a courtroom ever, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you're probably extremely nervous.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna get through this, okay? I'm just gonna ask you some questions and we're gonna have a conversation. Is that all right with you?
Yes, sir.
Could you let the jury know about your other family members, other brothers and sisters, your parents, that kind of thing?
I got another sister. Her name's Julie. I got a sister named Amy. My mom, Deborah. I mean, that's pretty much.
And then
I
it
got my nieces, all my nieces.
What's your niece's name? Do you remember?
Got Harley, Jazz, Kanae, Cash, Maya, Jada.
And is Deborah your mother?
That's my mom. Yeah.
And for the most part, did your family grow up in North Carolina, where you're from, Lumberton, and
Yes, sir.
some still living out there?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned that Letecia Stauch is your sister,
Yes, sir.
and you see her in the courtroom today.
Yes, sir.
Could you point her out and describe what she's wearing?
A green sweater.
And when was the last time you saw her?
When we came down here in 2020.
So January 2020?
Yes, sir.
And so I want to talk about that a little bit. When you said you came out here, who came out here?
Me, my mom, and my Aunt Brenda.
And what's Brenda's last name?
Akron,
What's your mom's last name?
Locklear.
Why'd you come out here?
We come out here to help support Tisha because we felt like she was being wrongly accused for something that we believe she would never do.
And so I'm sorry, go
We-
ahead.
We also wanted to come out here and help look for him. We did.
Go ahead and take a deep breath, all right? You let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
So you wanted to come out and help. You refer to her as Tisha,
Mhm.
and you also wanted to look for Gannon.
Yes, sir.
So do you remember when you came out?
January 31st, I think. 30th. It was late January. It was about to be February because my mom's birthday was that weekend or something, that next week.
And why particularly did you come out?
Because I knew my mom was going to come out here.
Did you want to support your mom?
Yes, sir.
Now, was it January 30th of 2020 when you all flew out here?
I believe so.
Where did you fly to? Do you remember?
Denver.
You got to Denver. What did you do?
Went looking for her and Harley.
Rent a car?
Yeah, we rented a car from the airport.
Did your aunt Brenda Awkward rent the car?
Yes, sir.
And did she pay for you all to come out here?
Yes, sir.
And
Mr. Lowry, you're kind of soft-spoken at times. Could you put the microphone a little bit closer to you so the jurors can hear you a little better? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
so when you get to Denver, your aunt rents a car. What was the game plan? What were you going to do?
To get Tisha and Harley at least two around us.
And did they know you all were coming out?
Yeah.
And so, do you recall renting a Nissan Altima?
I think so.
You drive down to Colorado Springs, I assume?
Yeah.
Who was driving? Do you remember? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aunt Brenda.
And so what happens when you get to Colorado Springs? Where do you go?
Like a shopping center. Because that's where we found them at.
Were you guys talking to them on your way down?
Yeah, when we was looking for them.
And so would this be a shopping center kind of on the north side of town next to a Marshall's department store?
Yeah, there was a Marshall's there.
And did they tell you why they were, let me ask you this, did the defendant, Tisha, tell you why they were at the Marshall store?
She didn't tell us why. Not that I can remember.
Did she tell you whether or not she had an interaction with some
Yes.
police officers?
Yes, sir.
And you have to kind of wait till I finish asking the
Oh,
question
sorry.
because
Yeah.
she's typing everything down we say, okay? So what did she tell you happened prior to you getting there?
That the laws had thrown her down and detained her.
Say anything about Harley?
Yes, Harley said also Harley.
That upset you?
Yes, it did.
So where did you go after you went to this Marshall's parking lot area to pick them up?
We ain't got a hotel.
And do you remember the name of the hotel?
No.
Does the extended suites sound familiar?
Yeah, extended suites.
So what happened when you got to the extended suites?
That was when they was discussing wanting to get their stuff back, like get their belongings.
And who was discussing that?
Tisha.
Once you picked up the defendant and her daughter Harley, who was kind of calling the shots as to what you were going to do and where you're going to go and things like that?
I don't really know.
Well, was
I'm type like I said, I'm the type of person like just stand in the corner and wait until they just tell me what they want to do.
you're just there to help?
I'm just there.
So how many rooms did you end up getting at the extended suites?
I can't remember.
Did you spend the night there that night?
Yeah.
Do you remember who was in your room?
I know my mom was. I believe Aunt Brenda was with us. I can't remember if we had just one room or two rooms.
Okay. Well, was Harley and your sister, the defendant, in the room with you?
We was around each other most of the time, like all of us was together most of the time.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that the defendant was talking about wanting to get her stuff back. What did you do the next morning to do that?
We rented a van.
And who rented the van?
Aunt Brenda.
So Brenda Awkward rents, what kind of van did she rent?
like a cargo van, I guess you would say.
And so did all of you go to rent the van?
I don't know if all of us went or not. I believe we did.
So it's you, your mother, Deborah, Brenda Awkward, Harley, and the defendant, Tisha. Where do you go?
Mm. I know at one point she tried to go to the police station and get her pocketbook and stuff like that.
Tell the jury about that. Where exactly did she go? And you probably don't know Colorado Springs very well, right?
Mm.
So did she tell you she's going to the police department? And did you actually go to the police
Yeah,
department?
we went to the police department.
And did she go in to try to get her belongings back that was taken?
Yeah,
in
she
evidence?
did.
You know whether or not she got those items?
I can't remember.
So where do you go from the police department?
I think that's when we went to their house to get their clothes and stuff.
So this would have been January 31st now, 2020,
I believe so.
the next morning.
That Friday.
So what happens when you get to her house?
We just started loading up the clothes and stuff that's coming out of the house.
Were there police officers there?
Yes, sir.
What were the police officers doing?
They was checking everything we brought out,
How were they checking it?
like looking in the bags and I guess just making sure there wasn't nothing that wasn't supposed to be there.
And how did you feel about being at the residence that morning?
Just aggravated.
And why were you aggravated?
Because I felt like we was getting looked at as criminals.
Is that because they were looking at your sister as a criminal?
No, they was looking at our whole family. It wasn't just her.
And so what kind of things did you guys get out of the house? Do you remember?
Suitcases and clothes, that's all I can remember.
Was it all the Harley's clothes and all of your sister's clothes?
Yes, sir.
What was the game plan? I mean, where were you going to
They
put
got-
these clothes?
They got their dogs too.
What was the plan on where you were going to go with all the clothes and things? You know?
But I know when she got it, she was ready to leave. She was ready to leave.
And did she tell you where she was ready to leave to?
I thought it was South Carolina.
And is that where she moved out to Colorado from, is South Carolina?
I don't think that's where she moved out to Colorado from.
Well, did she live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a while?
Yes, sir.
Is that where she was planning on going back to?
That's what I thought.
Is that what she told you?
That's what I can remember.
So how long did it take to load up all her and Harley's things into this cargo van?
I can't remember. Over an hour, I guess.
What happens after you get the van loaded?
We leave and go back to the room, I believe.
Do you remember whether or not your sister had an interview with a news reporter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did.
Tell the jury about that. How'd that come about?
I don't know how that happened. I just know she just had an interview with him.
And did she tell you why? I mean, was anybody talking to her about doing this? Or?
I wasn't. I wasn't.
Whose idea was it to have an interview with a news reporter?
I don't know.
Foundation.
Sustained. Jury will disregard the answer.
So when you went to the house, I'm assuming you went in the cargo van. Did you also take the Nissan Altima that was,
Yeah, the Nissan was with us.
who was driving which vehicle?
I think I was driving the van, and I think Brenda was on the Nissan.
And what vehicle was your sister the defendant in?
Say that again.
What vehicle was your sister in, the defendant? You remember?
No.
You know, we'll go on to that. So she does an interview with a news reporter. What do you do after that?
I just know we left. I don't remember where we went.
Did you eventually go back to the
We went
hotel?
back, yeah.
Do you remember about what time of day it was?
No.
Go back to the hotel room, and what do you do when you get back to the hotel room?
I know we mentioned something about wanting to go look for him. Because me and my mama, we wanted to go help look for him.
Tell us about that conversation.
Well, we wanted to go. She said she would get up with Albert, find out like when they're going to go out and look for him again or whatever. But we wanted to go, but at the same time, we kind of didn't because we didn't feel like we was getting treated right down here.
Is that because of what happened at the house earlier?
Yeah.
When you first got to Colorado, did you have conversations with your sister about, hey, we got to go out and look for Gannon. We got to go search for him?
We asked if they had any idea where he was at and stuff. I mean, that's about all we asked her.
And did you all ever go search for Gannon?
No, we didn't.
Did she ever say, hey, we got to go look for Gannon?
I mean, she told us that we could. That's all she told us. Like she said, we'd get up with Al and talk to him about it.
She never did.
Mm.
When you get back to the hotel room back on January 31st of 2020, did the defendant leave you all and go somewhere by herself?
Yes.
Overruled.
Did she tell you where she was going?
Go get some dog food for their dogs.
Do you know what vehicle she took?
The Nissan.
The Ultima?
Yes, sir.
And how long was she gone?
A while.
Hour?
I can't remember that. I just know she was gone longer than what I expected.
Was it 2 hours?
I don't know.
You remember sitting around the hotel room wondering where she's at and when she's getting back, that kind of thing?
Well, I did get on the phone with my wife, and I did tell my wife I feel like she's just been gone too long. But
Say that.
because she was gone for a long time, like I can't remember how long she was gone, but I didn't expect her to take that long. But then a part of me was like, well, maybe she's just trying to take her a minute by herself. So
Did anyone try to call her and say, hey, where are you? What's going on here?
no, not that I can remember.
Does she eventually come back?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What happens when she gets back?
I don't know. She came back and she was normal to me.
Did she have any dog food or any items for the dogs?
She had some. She came back with some stuff, like she bought something, but I can't remember.
So earlier you had mentioned that she wanted to go back to South Carolina. What was the plan with the cargo van? Was she going to take the cargo van that Brenda Awkward rented to go back to South Carolina?
I don't know if she was going to take that one because Aunt Brenda wouldn't. I doubt Aunt Brenda was going to let her. I believe Aunt Brenda told her she had to get another van.
And so the next morning, we're now on February 1st, 2020. Did you help her get a new van?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury about that. What did you and your sister do to get a new van?
We went and drove to the budget place. We got another van. And we got the van. We unloaded all the stuff from out of the van into another van, into the other van.
So was that in the early morning hours?
I believe so.
Do you know about what time it was? Is that the first thing you did on February 1st?
I can't remember.
So when you get to the budget area, Did you know that you were going to transfer things from one van to another when you got there?
Yeah.
So did you talk about that on the way to the budget rental van?
Yeah.
So talk to the jury about that. How did you guys go about doing that, moving the items from one van to another?
We just went around to the side of the budget place, and we just backed the vans up and just swapped them out.
During that process, did you see the defendant with a rather large suitcase?
Yes, sir. I seen her with a lot of suitcases. Well, there was a lot of suitcases on there.
Was there one that kind of stood out to you?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury about that. Why did it stand out to you?
Because it looked like she was struggling with it.
Did you offer to help her?
Yep.
What'd she say?
She didn't need help.
Did you ask her what's in the suitcase?
Yep.
What'd she say?
She told me it was softball stuff.
Why'd you ask her what's in the suitcase?
I didn't feel right about it.
What about that suitcase didn't make you feel right?
I just felt like it was too heavy for her.
You know, at this time, I'd like to publish People's Exhibit 48. It's already been admitted into evidence.
Go ahead.
You recognize that suitcase we see on the TV screen?
Yep.
How do you recognize that suitcase?
Look, it's an old suitcase. And I remember that suitcase looked old, and it's green.
Is that the suitcase you saw your sister putting into the budget van?
Yep.
Is that the suitcase you asked her about what's in it?
Yep.
Is that the suitcase you didn't feel right about?
Yep.
Is that the suitcase you told you softball equipment was in?
Yep.
Thank you. Take that down. So what happens after you get everything loaded into the budget van from your aunt's rental van?
At that point, we was ready to go home.
And did you drive Brenda Awkward's van back? And did Miss Stauch, your sister, drive the budget van?
I can't remember if we turned that van in there at that place or if we had to turn it in somewhere else. But I mean, I had to drive one of them because it was just me and her.
So do you eventually turn back? It's an enterprise van, right? Is that where you rented the van that Brenda Awkward
I
rented?
think, yeah.
Did you take that van back?
Yeah, we took it back. I think we took it back later on that day.
And did you take the Nissan Altima back to Denver to catch your flight?
Yep.
What did the defendant tell you where she was going to go?
Only thing I can remember, only thing I can remember is her saying something about going back to Myrtle Beach.
And did she leave with Harley?
Yeah, her and Harley left.
Did they leave from the hotel?
I can't remember where we split up at. I can't remember where we.
Or did your sister have to go back to the hotel to pick up Harley?
Yep. I think so.
And is that the last time you saw your sister until today?
Yep.
How much older is your sister than you?
14 years.
You known her your whole life?
Yeah.
Can you give the jury an idea about the family background? How often would you see her as you're growing up, that kind of
She
thing?
come to like holidays, came around on holidays.
Where would you guys meet? In North Carolina?
But she'd either come down here or go down there, or we might have went to the beach and seen her.
Had you gone to Myrtle Beach on few occasions to
Yeah,
hang out with Harley?
yeah, me and her. I used to go down there and stay with them. We'd go to the water park, stuff like that on the weekends.
Can you let the jury know who your father is?
James Lowry.
And would that have been your sister's stepfather?
Yes, sir.
Is your dad still alive?
No, sir.
You know when he died?
7th birthday, 2004.
Do you know the circumstances on how he died?
Got hit by a car.
Was he walking out in the street? And
I don't know if he was. I don't think he was on the street. I think he was on the side of the road.
do you know anything about the relationship between your father and your sister, Letecia Stauch?
No, sir.
Had your sister ever told you anything unusual between the relationship between your father and her?
No, sir.
If there had been something unusual, do you think you would have heard about it?
Objection, foundation. Overruled.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because, I mean, pretty sure my mom would have said something.
And your mother, Deborah, was she, well, what kind of mom was she?
She was a great mom to me.
What do you say to me?
I'm just saying that I had no problem with my mama.
Was she very
I
protective?
think none of us should have a problem with my mama.
Was she very protective of the kids,
Yes, sir.
including Miss Stauch?
Yes, sir.
On these occasions that you spent with your sister, did you have an opportunity to see her interact with other people and make decisions and go through everyday life?
Yeah.
Had you ever known her to have a serious mental illness?
I know of, I mean, the only thing we always said she probably had was that she was OCD. That was it.
Is that obsessive compulsive disorder?
Well, we used it as excessive cleaning disorder. Like she had to keep stuff clean.
Go ahead and object to the reference of testify as to what he saw and observed, but I'm objecting to him testifying regarding.
That's fair. Mr. Lowry, just talk about what you think as opposed to what all of you thought. So if you think it, it's fine. And just say, this is what I thought based on your contacts with her. Okay. Mr. Young?
Do you understand that? I mean, you good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned that she had OCD. Why do you say that?
She liked to keep stuff in a particular spot. She liked to keep everything clean.
But when you're around her, would you make sure that things remain clean? Because she may want to,
Yep.
might say something to you.
Yep.
Was she the same with Harley?
She was the same with everybody like that. As far as I know.
Anything unusual about that?
No. That's normal to me.
You know other people like that?
No.
Had you ever known her to use different names or identify herself by a different name?
I can't remember.
Do you ever remember her referring to herself as a person named Harmony?
I do know she didn't like her name, but I don't remember her calling herself Harmony.
Did she tell you why she didn't like her name?
No.
Do you ever remember her calling herself Jasmine?
No.
And you said you had a niece named Jasmine or Jazz?
Jaslyn.
Sorry.
Jaslyn.
And are you familiar whether or not your sister liked Disney movies?
I believe she did.
And are you familiar with the movie Aladdin?
Yeah.
You familiar with a character named Jasmine in that movie?
Yes, sir.
Who's Jasmine in that movie?
The princess.
Do you ever remember her talking in a Spanish accent?
No.
You ever seen her in a stressful situation?
No.
How about when you came to Colorado?
Yeah. Yeah.
During the entire time you're in Colorado with her, had you ever seen her speak in a Spanish accent?
No.
Have you ever heard her refer to herself as Maria?
No.
Does Maria mean anything to you? That name?
No.
You have an opinion as to whether or not your sister has the capacity to know right from wrong.
Thought she did.
Why do you say that?
She's too smart.
Was your sister a really good athlete as well?
Yes, sir.
What kind of sports did she play?
Softball, basketball, baseball.
Was she more of a leader than a follower?
That's what I thought.
Never see her drive a vehicle, for instance.
Yes, sir.
Did she have the ability to stop at red lights, go when it turns green, that kind of thing?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen her, have you witnessed her obey the law?
Yes, sir.
And is that throughout your entire life?
Yep.
And is that for even when you were in Colorado?
I mean, we didn't ride with her. She didn't really drive around with us, but I mean, she acted funny the whole time we was down here, to be honest.
Tell us about that. Why was she acting funny?
She seemed like she was stressed out about everything that was going on, looking over her shoulders. But I figured that was because of the laws was constantly coming after her.
You alluded to this earlier, but she had just been in handcuffs prior to you guys picking her up, right?
Yep.
And do you think that may have caused her to be a little bit paranoid about the police following her and things
Yep.
like that? What about her capacity to do things intentionally, perform intentional acts? Let's talk about the budget rental van. Did you see anything unusual about her ability to rent another van to go to South Carolina?
No.
Does she have the capacity to intend to do things?
Yeah.
Does she have the capacity to make decisions and use judgment and reflection in making those decisions?
Yeah.
What did you think when you heard that she pled not guilty by reason of insanity?
I believe that was the only way she did it at that time.
Did what?
What we're here for.
A moment, Your Honor.
You may.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination, Mr. Polina?
Mr. Lowry,
Morning.
I know this is difficult. And we've met before, correct?
Yep.
Remember I came and I saw you and your mom and everything out in North Carolina. I want to go back just to the attorney's last question. You indicated she must have been when she did this. And what you're meaning is the Letecia that you know, the only way she could have done something so horrible if she has some type of mental break.
When everything first happened, and we found out that the little boy was found in the body, We found out where he was found. It just, at that point, I knew she did it because when I seen that suitcase and asked her about it, she just acted funny to me. And yeah, I thought she might have snapped and went crazy.
Okay.
But now, no. No.
Okay. And talk Lumberton, you're from Lumberton, North Carolina, correct?
Yep.
And that's kind of a small, how big of Lumberton?
It's not that big.
A pretty small community.
Yeah.
And this case has got a national exposure.
Yep.
And it's got even more kind of exposure, in Lumberton. Lumberton
Yep.
press is, picked up and followed this case pretty closely.
Yep.
And over the 3 years since this has happened, this has caused a lot of shame to come upon you and your family.
Yep.
It makes you feel like your own town look kind of like an outcast.
Yep.
Like everybody's looking and judging you.
Yep.
Like everybody's looking and judging your mom.
Yep.
And this is all your stepsister's fault.
She's not my stepsister.
You
But
have different fathers, correct?
I mean, I don't consider that a stepsister. That's half.
Okay. This is all your half sister's fault.
Yes.
And you're angry at her for it.
Yep.
When you were out in Colorado during this time, she was acting different than normal.
Yes, she was.
She was pacing up and down. She seemed highly paranoid.
Yep.
Your mother was concerned for her mental health.
Yep.
Did your mom, Brenda, and you all fly back together?
Yeah, me and my mom and Aunt Brenda.
Okay. You flew out of DIA?
Yeah.
Do you call her during that time in Colorado that you were with her being paranoid and believing there's a black BMW that was following her?
Yeah, she did do that.
Go back. You're actually named after your father? Middle name?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Him and my grandpa.
Okay. And Ms. Stauch was 16 when she moved out, correct?
I believe.
Okay. So she's 14 years older than you. That would mean you're only 2 years old when she moved out of the house.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you never had any active memories of her with James or how James treated her.
No, sir.
And you said that would come home from time to time, but she never came back to North Carolina, never came back to Lumberton to see you guys until after James died.
Not that I can't remember.
Okay. You indicated, let's go. I mean, I'm going to get into this, and I know you might not like it, but your dad, James Lowry, did have a drinking problem.
Yes, he did, as far as I know.
You would get drunk and you'd beat the piss out of your mom.
Yeah, as far as I know, yep.
Sometimes it'd be so bad that your mom would have to take all you kids to a hotel room till you sobered up.
Yep.
Sometimes your mom would have to go to work and James be the one watching after you kids. Correct?
Yep.
One time, James gave you so much alcohol that you passed out. Well, they went up the.
Overruled.
One time, James gave you so much alcohol that you passed out.
Yep.
And you were under. So you passed when you were 7. You would have had to been what, 4, 5, or 6?
When you asked
You
that,
passed out. Remember how old you were?
I was like 3.
Okay. You indicated that, or I think you said before, that she would sometimes freak out if something was out of place.
Yep.
Stauch. And also, do you recall that sometimes when Miss Stout would come visit you or see you, sometimes she would leave you knives so you'd be able to protect yourself?
Yep, she did do that.
No further questions?
Correct.
Yes, Sheriff, thanks. Tell us a little bit more about your dad. Was he in the armed forces?
Yep,
What branch?
Air Force.
And did he go to war?
I believe he did.
And did that create problems for him?
Yep.
Tell the jury about that. What changed with your dad when he got back from war?
All I know is my mom always told me when he stepped off that plane,
Hold on, just a moment. Yeah, sustained. You can talk about what you observed. You can't talk about what somebody else told you. Okay?
I mean, I can't really talk about him because I was 3 when they separated. I was 7 when he died.
That's all right.
Okay. That's okay. It's all right.
Now, earlier we talked about your mom being protective of the kids. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
If something was going on with your dad and the kids, what would your mom do?
She don't play about her kids. Something went on between. I don't know how she did Daddy, but I know if something went on between her and like her ex-boyfriends or whatever, and they wanted to come to us or say something to us, she didn't play about us. She protected us.
She protected you kids? Did she protect herself?
Yep.
Did you ever see her hit your dad?
I don't remember hitting on. I don't remember. I can't remember much of my daddy because I was so young. But I know her boyfriend after my daddy, Greg, he would hit on her, and she would fight him back.
Did you want to be here today to testify?
Nope.
Did you get subpoenaed and that's why you came out here?
Yep.
Mr. Tellini was asking you questions about insanity or some kind of mental break. And you said initially that's what you thought, but then you said now, no. What did you mean?
I just feel like it's too much got done for you to be saying that now, for her to be saying that.
Well, do you think when she was telling you that there's softball equipment in the suitcase, she knew right from wrong, had the capacity to form the intent to do things?
Yep.
Meeting overruled.
Those are my questions, Jar. Thanks.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Lowry? Like we have one. Counsel, retrieve that question and approach, please. Mr. Lowry, do you remember where the green suitcase was retrieved from when you were getting the defendant's belongings at the house?
No.
I will allow reasonable follow-up as to that question only. Prosecution.
When was the first time you saw that green suitcase?
When we was moving to switching the vans.
Did you ever see it come out of the house when you guys are moving things out of the house into the first van?
No. Not that I can remember.
Thanks, Jeff.
Defense? All right. Thank you, Mr. Lowry. You may step down.
So that to me it broke my heart to hear Dakota talk about how he thought, his sister was this, decent person. She kind of looked out for him, and he came with his mother, their mother, to help after Gannon went quote unquote missing. And he just felt like something was just not right. And he finds out that, that she's involved, and, you could see clearly with him on that stand how upsetting and just wrecked he is over this case. Someone he loves, someone he probably trusted and thought he could count on. She's 14 years older than him. So he's known her his whole life. And then she does this horrific murder of an 11-year-old boy. So it's just real heartbreaking, and I really do feel for him. And yes, it took him being subpoenaed to come into court, but like I said at the beginning, his testimony is very, very important. The bit of history on the family there, and the suitcase that his seeing the suitcase when they transferred from that van, from the first van to the second van before leaving Colorado. That's very important. It's a timeline. It ties everything together. So let me know what you think of Dakota's testimony in the comments. And with that said and done, that's all I've got for this one, guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.